Alright, welcome back to the Chess Piece Project Part 5. In this tutorial we're going to try and tackle the king here. And it is a very involved sort of process here. The main part here I actually did ahead of time again, which was creating the curve and then doing the revolve. I did add a higher geometry in that though. So if we go to the surfaces and click on the little dotted line and go to the revolve options here, I'll show you the settings I used. As the geometry gets bigger, you may want to do this, but if we go to Edit, Reset Settings, basically clicked on Polygons, and then down here I chose Quads and Count, but then the count was quite a bit higher. I believe I typed in 800 instead of, I believe I was doing 500 for the other ones. So it just gave me a little bit more detail to go through and add more of those loops. So it's one thing I noticed when I jumped from the queen to the king, especially. I kind of felt like the queen didn't quite have as much detail, and I should have probably upped it up. I upped it to 500. I probably should have went to 600 or 700. So just so you know, that's how it's been done for this part. The main part here, though, is the top, and this is where it's going to be really complicated. It looks like a very simple piece of geometry. You could create a curve, and that's pretty much how we're going to do it. But it is kind of a little bit labor intensive. So the first thing you want to do is to essentially create your blueprint. Make sure it's lined up with the grid as much as possible to the center line, and it's pretty close to the center line there. And then in the channel box here, I'm going to lock down that image layer by clicking on reference. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a path, but I'm only going to do one side here and not the little top. If you look at the little top there, it's kind of rounded on the top piece. So I think I'll use like a rounded cube on that part as a separate piece. But let's go to the curves menu set and click on curves. And we're going to use this third one, the EP curve, and we're going to double click on it. This time, if I reset the tool, it's usually the 3 cubic. We want the linear, one linear. Will give us nice straight edges. So I'll click out there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the X key, and I'm going to click on right here as a starting point, and then and that's the center line here. And basically I'm just going to click then here, and I'm going to kind of, it is very pixelated, but I'm going to try and create some triangles here. They're kind of triangular, and I'm just kind of following along here. And then there's a few pieces that are kind of a little square, as you can see here, and I'm just clicking along here. If I zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see it that they're more triangular. This one I think is a triangle also, and then click out. And then finally at the end here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the X key up here. It seems strange to do this, but I just want it to be dead center. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit enter to accept this, and then right click and go to control vertex and grab that top point, and then just make sure I grab with the top arrow and drag down. That way this will make sure that this is exactly in the center, and that's what I want. I want this to be exactly centered along with this piece here. So then I can go back to object mode, and again you can do that through the components here, and then object mode for the curve using your modeling toolkit. But what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this curve here. So first thing I'm going to do is my custom shelf. I have the hotkeys of delete history, freeze transformation, center pivot. And so I'm going to duplicate this over to the other side. So I'm going to hit Control D to make a copy of it, and then move it over. And then you can see I need to rotate around. So if I go to my 3D view here, what I need to do is rotate it. So I'm going to hit E for rotation, and I'm just going to grab the middle line and start rotating it. In the channel box here, it's rotating on the y-axis. So if I type in 90 degrees, it'll be 90 degrees to that, and I actually need to go another 90. So it's 180 is what we're looking for here. And now we have it set up the other way. So let's go back to the view here. Now they're not connected curves, so you can see here we got this one and we got this one, and we could move this guy out and kind of line it up to the point, but they're still not connected, so we have to connect them. So how do you connect curves? So if you go to the curves menu set, click on the little tear off bar. There's some things we're going to be clicking in here and doing. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to try and connect them through the attach, but it might not work. So what I'm going to do is select one, hold the shift key and select the other one, and then click attach. And you'll see what happened is some weird little line has jumped around. The reason why that's happened is because we duplicated this and flipped it over to here. So I undid that by hitting Control Z. So what we have to do is we have to reverse the direction of this curve here. And so there is think of it like reverse normals, and it's down here at the very bottom. So once I click on that, then it's okay. And now I can hold the shift key, click on this curve, and now click attach, and look at that. Now we have a complete path that is enclosed, which is really cool. So I'm going to close out this menu set here. So now I'm going to center the pivot again, and then I'm going to duplicate this by hitting Control D and pull it out a little bit, and this will give me that thickness. So what we're going to do is we're going to loft geometry across these two curves. And so I'm just making a little bit thicker here. And so now I'm going to select the first one and then hold the shift key, select the other one. And then I'm going to go to the surface menu set and click on the tear out bar for that. And the one we're going to do is the loft. We're going to go to the options here and take a look at it. And I'm going to edit and reset my settings here so we can all have the same settings. So in the top menu set, we're going to leave the two on the top, uniform, auto reverse is fine. But we want the surface tree to be linear because it is straight edges, not rounded. And then in terms of the geometry type, we want polygons. So we click on the polygon menu set here. And then we click on quads. Quads are always preferred versus triangles. We've been doing count in the past, but this time we're going to use control points. So control points will basically be the points of the curve to loft across. So then I just click on the loft, and I have now geometry all the way around. And the only issue with this geometry, as you can see, it is the opposite. So it needs to be reversed. The normals need to be reversed. This is polygon geometry. So all I got to do is go to my my mesh display here and go down to reverse, and that will reverse the normals. So now you may think that if you go to edge mode here, again, go to the modeling toolshed, click on edge, and double click on the edge, you're thinking, oh, I can just fill in the face. Watch what happens when I add the fill in the face here. If I go to mesh and go down to fill hole, you can see what happens. The geometry is all wacky. So what's happening here is there's just too many, it's too complex for this. So we can't do a fill face for very complex geometry. In order to make this an enclosed surface, we have to loft geometry across the two areas and then connect them and start building up geometry across. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use the bridge tool here in the modeling toolkit. So with the edge select, I can click on this edge and click on this edge by just holding the shift key, and then I'll click the bridge tool. And it looks good here, but then it's not connecting up there. So what do we do there? Well, let's bridge on the other side first. Let's click here, and then I'm just going to hit the G key, which repeats /action, instead of having to click on the bridge tool here. Now what we need to do is we need a center line here to connect up to there. And so we need to add an edge loop. And again, I have my insert edge loop tool here. If I double click on the tool, since we want dead center, we can choose multiple edge loops and select one. And this will make sure that it is dead center as we click there. And then we want to do it on the other side too. So we click on this side and then we click out. Now what we need to do is we need to move this vertex and merge it with this one. And there is a tool here. It's called the Target Weld tool. And so if I click on this, I can come over here and click on this vertex or this edge and snap it to that edge. And then do the same thing here. Just kind of move it and then we'll snap to that point. It's actually better if I'm in vertex mode when I do this. So I was in edge mode. But if I click on the vertex, I can just click on this vert, go to this one, and we'll snap together. And now these areas are merged. The way you can tell is click on the arrow tool and then go back to edge mode, click on an edge, hit W, and you can see it's pulled together here. So it's acting as one whole unit. The curves are there still, and so I can get rid of those very easily. I'm gonna center the pivot on this, and then just move this geometry out for a sec. And I'm gonna, because curves are a little bit distracting, so I'm gonna select this curve, hold Shift key, select this one, and then just hide them by hitting the H. And I can move this guy back a little bit. So basically, what we have to do now is continue this process of lofting geometry across. So again, select edge, click on this edge, hold Shift key, select on this edge, and then click bridge. Now again, we have a one division there, and then we have two other ones we're going to have to do on the other edges. So this is going to take a lot of work. So I'm going to click here, hold the Shift key, click here, and I'm just going to hit the G key, and that will repeat the last action. So now I'm going to go back to my insert edge loop tool, double click, make sure it has equal distance 1, click out, and then just click once there, move over and click once there, and then I have to add one edge loop here and one here. So we can try it with the 1, and it's pretty close with that same setting. So I'm just going to click 1 on each side here, there, and there, and then click on the arrow escape out. Now these are not welded verts though. If I go to edge mode, you can see if I click on this and move it, it's separate. So we need to make sure these are welded geometry together. So the way that we can do this is we can use that target weld tool. Sometimes I like to pull it down a little bit just to get some separation. It tends to be easier to select. And so I'm just going to come around here. I'm just going to select these two edges and kind of pull down. Looks like I grabbed the wrong one. So I want to make sure I grab the bottom ones here. And then just kind of pull them down. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this target weld tool, but I'm going to do it in vertex mode again. Click on target weld, and then and this happens a lot where I'm kind of zooming in and out too much. So what I want to do is I want to click on the bottom ones and go to the top, because the top is perfectly lined up with the shape that I wanted. So I just come around here, click on the bottom ones, and go around just like that. So again, click here, and all I'm doing is left clicking with the mouse and dragging up to that other point. So there's no like magic trick with this. It's pretty easy to do. But you can see how long this is going to take. It's going to take a while to go through this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this tutorial, and then I'll show you at the end result. Okay, I wanted to share one little thing here. There is an option, the bridge tool, that can help you out sometimes with this merging process. So that's why I paused here. But I'm selecting this edge and this edge, and I'm going to do a bridge across here. And one thing I can do is I can start to add divisions here with this little slider. So with this, I'll need 7 divisions. So you can see here each one that lines up with these other edges along here. And that will just kind of speed up the process. That way I don't have to click on Insert Edge Loop Tool each time. So in the beginning it was kind of easier just to do that, just to kind of show you another process, but this will be a little bit faster now. And then go to the Target Weld tool and Vertex mode, and then basically just kind of snap these guys back. So I'll just snap that one to there, this one over to here. And I find if I do it, one at a time from each side, I don't get lost. It's just really easy to get lost here by not doing it this way. So just clicking, and then grab that center one and dragging it down. So now that whole first part is all targeted weld and great. Now if this was a perfect mirror, I could just duplicate this whole mesh down here, but it is a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and pause again and continue. Alright, that took a little while to get that mesh complete. One thing I like to do with an object like this is to go into vertex mode. Again, click on the vertices and select all the verts, and then go up to the edit mesh tool and go down to merge and go to the options. And there's a threshold level here. I just add an extra 0 here, so it's 0.001. Usually if we reset it, there's 0.01, so I just made it a little bit less of a threshold, and then click apply. And then what will happen is any verts that aren't quite welded, they'll merge together. If this tolerance is too low, though, what will happen is these verts will kind of combine together. We don't want that. So it looks pretty good though overall. Go ahead and close these little windows out here. So pretty much, if we look at our blueprint here, at the last thing that I would do with this is maybe add a bevel to each edge. So I could do that just by going around and holding the shift key and select each one of these. And I'm not going to do that here, but I would maybe bevel that again just by clicking on the bevel tool. I'll do one just to kind of show you, and then I'll undo it, but like add a little bit of fraction there. But again, I would do that to the whole thing, and then perhaps then just add smoothing, with number 3 to smooth it out. Maybe add a few more edge loops to kind of firm up the areas, but I think doing the bevel should do that actually. Well, actually, let me just pause real quick while so I did the one side, so I'm just going to go ahead and bevel the other. I have these edges all selected. It just took a while to select them all. And I'll click on bevel. And 0.5 is good. And I think I did 3 segments, maybe 2 on the other side. Yeah, it looks like it was 2. So I'll type in 2 here. And that should be good. And then I can click out. And now go to object mode on this. And if I hit number 3, you can see it's still smoothing everything out. So I may keep this as a shaded, just as a solid piece, and not add smoothing, because it does have the bevel. Sometimes I do that with pieces, because it still looks pretty good, especially from a distance if I angle it and so forth. Because basically it's a flat plane here, and all you need to show is the sharp edges along there. Then for the final part is the top, the little squish, almost like a squish sphere. I think I'll use a cube for that though. So I'll just drag one up and start to scale it down. Make it really small there. And probably something like that. Let's go to the view and see. This is pretty close to the size. And then just move it down. And then I might squish it out. It looked a little bit wider. So I kind of squish it out a little bit. And then in the channel box here, maybe just add a division, maybe 2 in each one. And then when I hit number 3 on this, you can see it's kind of like a flattened cube. Kind of feels like pretty much that's what it is on there. It could be because it is kind of thick. Maybe I need to thin it out, have a little bit thinner, closer to what is here. This object isn't centered on this either, so I would kind of move these into place and kind of do that. But pretty much that would then complete the king here at this point. Again, it took a lot of work to do that intricate design and just add those divisions and make it all come together, but it was worth it. So we've got almost all the chess pieces here. In the next tutorial, we'll finally tackle the knight. Until then, see you soon. Cheers.